Good evening, everyone, and welcome to more from my 1984 opening day replay, I'll say. We're actually on to game two here, or I'm sorry, day two, where the New York Yankees will be visiting the Kansas City Royals. Not sure it's known as Kauffman Stadium at the time. I think it was more Royal Stadium at this time. But, what's interesting here is the Yankees are actually pretty good this year, and obviously the Royals are pretty good. They did well. They didn't win the World Series or anything like that, but they did challenge the Tigers at least, and of course won next year. But what's interesting is even looking at these lineups here today. If you were, hey Dad, like Dad bought tickets to opening day in Kansas City, and we're gonna face the Yankees. And who's not playing today? Well, Mattingly isn't. Though I think this is his rookie year, so maybe though he did play 153 games, he wasn't discovered yet. But we do have Don Baylor, Dave Winfield. Hey, great, that's pretty cool. But for the Royals, we've got Butch Davis in left. We have Balboni and Motley, but we have no, let's see, Ewell Washington, but more importantly, no George Brett, no John Wathan. Just kind of a ragtag group with, I don't know, maybe there are injuries, but leading off is Onyx Concepcion. Maybe he was, and I probably should look this up. Maybe he was thought of as like the heir apparent at shortstop instead of UL Washington. Maybe he had a great spring. I'm not sure. But today, the point is, I've done 3 of these games already in Inside Pitch Advance. And today, I'm going to go a little bit slower. I'm going to show the results. I think maybe I got a little ahead of myself and maybe even talked too much. But got a little ahead of myself, and I always feel like if there's dead air, that's dead air, and we don't want dead air. But I'm going to take a stroll through this game, so it may take a little bit longer than an hour, but I'm going to go a little bit slow. I'm going to show some charts today. Typically, I do not do that because I'm using my own helper to show me the charts and do some not crazy things, but certainly have like double plays. It automatically figures out what the change to the 1D20 roll should be. Just makes things easier. And so what I'm going to do is go a little bit slower for those. Obviously, IPA has not been released yet. So for the persons out there who are looking more for an experience where I see where that result came from, that makes sense to me. Or if it doesn't, let me know. But gonna shoot for a slower version and maybe a little bit more intuitive and maybe a little bit more learning process. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So again, it's the New York Yankees, obviously no wins and no losses at the Kansas City Royals. And oops, I need to add the scoreboard here. So let's do that real quick. Where the heck are you? And please bear with me because go properties, scorebook window, and I need to open it first. That would help. Okay, we'll move that up here, and well, this is off to a rip-roaring start, isn't it? There you go. Hooray! All right, so there's our scorebook, so we can see who's actually winning and who's on base. And so as you can see, it's Omar Moreno, who at the time was thought to be, I guess George Steinbrenner said, this team needs more speed. So he got a semi-washed up Omar Moreno to lead off. And here we go. So Omar Moreno, 259, had 20 stolen bases on the year. So he was a little bit slowed down. And he'll be facing on the mound for the Kansas City Royals today's Bud Black. He went 17-12 on the year, 256 innings, 226 hits allowed, and a nice 3.12 ERA, so very effective. He'll be going up against Ron Guidry, who was 10-11, did not have a great year, 4.51 ERA, actually gave up more than a hit per inning. So, yeah, a little difficult year for Ron Guidry, but Black versus Guidry, not a bad pitching matchup, something I'd be interested in watching. So we'll start off here with Omar Moreno facing Bud Black. So the pitch from Bud is a 5-1. That is a potential strikeout against a 5. Bud Black is a lefty. And against left-handed pitching, Omar Moreno is a 9 or less We do need to take Kauffman Stadium into account here. Strikeouts are -1. Walks and home runs have no effect. But even with the -1, that lowers his rating to an 8. That's still a strikeout for Omar Moreno, and we've got the first out of the game is a K for Bud Black. That will bring up the second baseman, Willie Randolph. Willie batted .287, 2 homers, 31 RBIs. He had 10 stolen bases. Just another prototypical year for Willie Randolph. Highly effective. 8-2. That is a possible error on a grounder. Now, one of the other things the helper does is automatically will let you know if the error actually applies, because certainly within inside pitch advance, there are certain errors that, okay, error at a ground ball and it's a fly ball, obviously that's not going to occur, but sometimes there might be situations where they will occur, and the helper does that for you. So again, 8-2 is an EG, and on Willie's card, that's a 3-1, that's a star 1. So we go to his Bud Black's 1, and that's an F8. So we know that obviously an error on a ground ball cannot occur on an F8. And the helper verifies that, but that's the second out. So 2 outs now in the top of the first inning, and this brings up Steve Kemp. Steve Kemp, very good hitter, .291, 7 homers and 41 RBIs and 313 at-bats. Played the majority of his time against right-handed pitching. And here he is going up against Bud Black. So he's like, thank you very much. Thanks for that, coach. Bud Black delivers. That is a 6-8. That is a potential walk. That's a 15 against a left-handed pitcher. His walk rating is 11, so 15 is above that. So we're going to go to Steve Kemp. He's going to swing away. And that is a 1-5. That is a fly ball to center field. And so that's 3 up and 3 down for Bud Black, living up to his 3.12 ERA. And with that, we'll move to the bottom of the first inning. The Yankees nothing, and the Royals coming up to bat. Okay, so Ron Guidry again, 10-11 on the year, 195 and 2/3 innings, 223 hits, not very good. Only 41 strikeouts, so he was sort of effective. Kept the ball over the plate, gave up too many hits, but did have a 4.51 ERA. And for 1984, that's not very good. All right, so Guidry will be facing Onyx Concepcion. Whoa, look at me. Here I am touting like the heir apparent and saying how he's not very good, and yet he batted .282 in the year. So maybe I'm the guy who's wrong here. Only 287 at-bats, 1 homer, 23 RBIs, 9 stolen bases, so semi-threat to steal. But looks like he was fairly effective offensively. 5-5 for Guidry. That is a ampersand. That's not an ampersand. That's an @ symbol, so that's a ballpark play. We'll move to Kauffman Stadium. 2-4. That is a D8. Oh, look at Onyx Concepcion. Doubles the center field. So we got our first base runner of the game here with Concepcion on second base, and that'll bring up Butch Davis. Now, what's interesting with IPA, we've got everything you need to know regarding the strategy rules right on the card. So there is no extrapolation of, well, how many strikeout, what is his strikeout rating against a righty or lefty hitter? And so therefore from there, I say what his sack rating is or his hit and run rating. It's literally right there on the card. And as you can see, Butch Davis is not much of a hit and runner. In fact, he's not at all, or sacrifice hit. But and that's basically it. So what we take is Concepcion, his stolen base rating, his attempt is a 4, and then we -1, which is a 3, and then quite frankly, with a runner going to third base, I think we half it or maybe divide it by 4. But what I'm seeing here is on the helper, it says he has a rating of 1. So a 1 or less, he's going. He's not. So Ron Guidry will pitch to Butch Davis. Nobody out here. Concepcion on second. That is a 3-4. Uh-oh, that's a home run. So with a 12 against Butch Davis, who against lefty, he is a 12. The home run is 0. Now what we can do, and which I am going to do, is use Ron Guidry's empty and on base ratings, and that's a +1. So we +1 his rating makes it a 13, and obviously that he would have homered anyway, even with his home run rating with empty base pass or on base. So someone's on base. Now what's interesting, if there was a runner on base, Guidry would have clamped down and prevented that home run. But Instead, Butch Davis says, hey, thanks for the start, coach. I only had 116 at-bats on the year, but boom, I just hit a home run, I'll say to left field, and that's a 2-run shot for Butch Davis, and already Ron Guidry saying, I hate 1984. So 2-0 lead here for the Royals, and that'll bring up Frank White. Batted .271, 17 homers, 56 RBIs in the year. Ron Guidry looking at the mound, kicking the dirt a little bit, picking up the rosin bag, wondering what's going on. That's a 6-3. That is a potential strikeout, 16 against a lefty. He's got an 8, so that's above his rating. Frank White will swing. That's a 1-7. That is a star 8, so we go to Ron Guidry's 8 column, and that's an automatic ground ball to the shortstop. And that's the first out for Ron Guidry. Ron Guidry saying, I'm in the groove now. I've got this. And that'll bring up Hal McRae. 303, 3 homers, 42 RBIs. Not a big home run year for Hal McRae, but still could put the ball in play and get on base. Here's a pitch from Guidry. That's a 4-6. That is a potential walk, and McRae against a lefty is an 11 or less. That's a 5, so Hal McRae draws the walk. Runner on first now. Hal McRae not a threat to steal. He is a 0. Actually, he's an attempt of 1, but Guidry negates that, makes that a 0 with his hold rating of -1. So no strategy roll here. Actually, yeah. Steve Balboni's up. 244 average, 28 homers, 77 RBIs. He does not sack bunt. He does not hit in a run. So that's why we're ignoring the strategy. A 4-8. That is a potential strikeout. Home run if he's fatigued, which he's not. He's only thrown to 4 batters thus far. Okay, so that's a potential strikeout. A 10. Steve Balboni is really good at striking out, so that's an easy strikeout for him. And that's 2 outs now. And that's Ron Guidry's first strikeout of the year. And that'll bring up Darryl Motley. Darryl Motley, 284, 15 homers, 70 RBIs, 10 stolen bases, played in 146 games. Pretty much the standard in left field. He had a really good range rating, too, of 6. So had a lot of value in the outfield as well. Guidry with the pitch. That's a 1-8. Question mark. So we'll take the 5. And against a right-handed batter, that is a single automatically. And we have to pick. So what we're going to do, I'm not going to take the 5. I'm going to re-roll the 1d20. So basically what we're doing is saying it's an automatic single. Now we have to figure out the location. And what we do is take a 1d20 and determine which column it's going to. And it's an automatic single of a 12. So we come all the way across here. You can see the 2, 4, 6, 8, 11, 14. So it falls in that one. And that is an F9. So that would be an F9 converted to an S9. And that's a base hit to right field. So with 2 outs, a runner on first, we've got an S9. So what we need to do is determine the advancement from first to third. Now there was the old method of looking at the ABR and looking at the arm rating and everything like that. And hopefully you can see this. There's a little bit of glare, but I'll move that out of the way. And basically what I do is I roll 2d8. The blue is going to be my red. You can see the red columns up ahead. So S1 to 3. This is the S1 to 3 chart. And I think you can see that. Yeah, there's a little bit of glare. You can actually see the camera. Hey, say hi, camera. All right, so I'm going to roll this. It's an 8-8. Oh, look at that. All right, so we go to column 8 and all the way down. He advances if the ball is hit to right field. Guess where the ball is hit? To right field. So we know that the runner on first is automatically going to advance to right field. Very easy. I'm sorry, not automatically advance to right field. Automatically advance if the ball is hit to right field, which he does. Now also note that we add +1 to the BR, his base running advancement, if there were 2 out. But the BR rating only comes up in columns, the first 2 columns, which are actually 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So half the time the BR rating will come into play. This time it didn't with an 8-8, but he advances to third. So now we have a runner on first and third. So McRae's on third, Motley's on first, now with 2 out, and that'll bring up Don Slaught. Okay, do we have a strategy roll? Well, Darryl Motley is a 3 to steal. His attempt rating is so a 3 or less. He's going, and look, he's going. And as I said in an earlier game, I follow these to the rule because sometimes base runners make mistakes. I think normally you'd say, not going to go. Don Slaught could get a base hit here, and the Royals get another run. But Darryl Motley's saying, hey, I'm going for it, so go for it, kid. So he is an SB rating of 9. Let's see, Guidry is a -1, so that makes it 8. and Cerrone makes it another -1 with his arm rating of -1. So we lower that SB rating from a 9 to a 7. Daryl Motley, what the heck are you thinking? 7 or less, he's safe. Well, there you go. I knew what I was doing. Knock it off, Craig. I know what I'm doing. All right, so runner on run on third holds, and the runner on first steals second. SB2, and so now we have Daryl Motley on second. So now it's runners on second and third. Daryl Motley, you know what you're doing. Keep it up, kid. And then looking at it now, we've got no strategy roll, no hit and run with runners in second and third. And obviously, we're not going to sack bunt with 2 out. So Guidry from the windup, 4-7. That is a range play on a 13 or less. We've got a 20 here. I know it's kind of a little cockeyed, but I'm saying that's a 20. So it's above range play, so there is no range play. So we just go to Don Slot's card, and that is a 3-3, and that is a R S1. So that means with runners in scoring position, that's an S1. The uniqueness, however, since there are runners in scoring position, Ron Guidry has the potential to take that S1 away and convert it into a G1. If the number on the 1D20, which I'm not even looking at yet, you can see here's his NR rating. So with no runners on, he's a 7. With runners on, 14. That means if the 1D20 roll is less than a 7 with no runners on, if the N were to come up. But here it's a 14 because the R component came up. So it's a 14. Look at that. And he rolled a 20 anyway. Good grief. There I am going this long dissertation, and you rolled a 20. So range play, I'm sorry, not a range play. Runners in scoring position of an S. I'm sorry, I looked at the wrong one. It's 3-3 of an S1. So it is an S1 because Guidry had the opportunity to change it, but the 20 was above his 14, so that's an S1. And now we go advancement past the fielder, and this is just like the old chart in inside pitch regular version, I'll say, if I can find it. There it is. So this guy, so we have an S1, so we have a runner on third. Obviously, he's going to score. That's Hal McRae. We have, let's see, the runner on second is Daryl Motley. Is he going to score? So a 2 to H on an S1. He'll score if his BR rating is 2 or above. He's a 4, so he's going to score as well. And the runner at first is going to stay at first. Or the hitter is going to stay at first. So 2 more runs score on the Don Slot single past Ron Guidry, which he had the opportunity, but had actually a 70% chance, but failed the roll check. So it's already 4-0, and Ron Guidry saying, like, I hate my life. Can we start over, please? But I don't think that you're allowed to do that. So that'll bring up Don Slot, no chance to steal. Sheridan is a hit and run of 19. But you know what? I'm actually going to ignore it. So I'm not even going to do a strategy roll. They're already at 4-0. Guidry with the pitch. That is oh, you got to be kidding me. Another home run. So potential here of it, you've got to be kidding me. 10 again, but with, let's see. So 3-4 home run. We check Pat Sheridan. He's a 10. Against lefty, he's a 10. Holy moly, that matches. And the only thing that could change that, again, is with empty or runners on. And you know what? Don Slot is on. That -1 takes his rating down to a 9. 10 is above a 9. So essentially what we just did with Ron Guidry with runners on base and a potential home run has a little bit of a, I'm going to bear down here and I'm going to have a potential to prevent a home run, which with that -1 was enough. So no home run. So now we just go to Pat Sheridan's card. Pat Sheridan is miffed. You can't believe it. He had that pitch, and that is a 7-2. And that is an F8. So we can pretend that it was going to go homer to center field, but it just turned into a normal F8, but that's kind of irrelevant. So, wow. We had some interesting stuff there in that first inning already. And what are we, like 6 hours into this broadcast already? Kind of feels like it. Let's see. Oh, 20 minutes in. We've already got a whole inning done. All right, so that will bring up Don Baylor, Dave Winfield, and Toby Hara for the Yankees, and they're down 4-0. That was 4 runs on 4 hits with 1 runner left on base. So we face the top of the second inning. Bub Black still looking to give up his first base runner. He'd rather not, thank you very much, but he'll face Don Baylor. 262, 27 homers, 89 RBIs, still highly effective as a DH. The pitch from Black, 4-7, is a pickoff play Obviously, there's no pickoff because there's no runners on. So then we immediately just go to the ballpark card with that @ symbol, and we re-roll. Now you can keep that 1d20 if you want. I don't. I just like to re-roll the whole thing on the park card. 8-4. That is a G6, and it's got that funky little symbol there. That means it would turn into a single if the infield was playing in. Obviously, with no one on base, they're not playing in. So that's just a normal G6. And that's the first out. All right, up comes Big Dave Winfield, George Steinbrenner's favorite. Batted .340 on the year, but apparently did not hit enough home runs for George. Only 19, 100 RBIs, scored 106 runs. The guy just had a great year, but unacceptable. So here's the pitch from Black. I'm sorry, not a 1-3, 7-3. That is a hit by pitch -2. So what we basically do is go to his hit by pitch, Dave Winfield, and subtract 2 from it. 0 -2, -2. There's no chance Dave Winfield's getting hit. So we just go to Dave Winfield's card, re-roll. That is a 7-2. That's a single right past the first baseman, Steve Balboni. And that's the first hit of the game for the Yankees. Winfield not a threat to steal. Is the only attempt of 1, and Bud Black is a whole rating of 1, so that negates that. Toby Harrah is a 17-20 on the hit and run. So we will see, hey, Toby, are you doing the hit and run? He says, not right now, thanks much. So Bud Black will pitch to Dave Winfield. Run on first, 1 out. That is a 3-6. That is a blank. We re-roll and go to Toby Harrah's card. 4-6. That is a G6. Oh, potential double play. So what do we do here? So it's a G6. Let me get out of there. Okay, G6. So basically what we do here is, where's my... Okay, DP mod, G6. So we don't do any kind of pivot. We don't go, hey, the infield's in double play position. It's supposed to be much simpler now. So a G6. Hit to the shortstop, so we add 1 to the adjustment. So basically what we're doing here is we're adding 1 to, let's see, he's a 13 plus. Bud Black is a -2. So -2, 13 plus. So -2 and then +1, it's a -1. So basically what we do is we take the pitcher's GDP and the DP modifier, and you add them together. -2 and a 1, so it's -1. So that is the modifier for the 1d20. What we see here, it's an 11. So we -1 from that, we make that a 10. Now, how do we determine if that's a double play or not? Well, if it was 13 or greater, it would have been a double play. The 10, 11 -1 is not a double play. And then secondly, what we do is we look at Dave Winfield's BR rating. And let me see what his BR rating is. I know it's a 5 because I have it on the helper. You can see it's a 5. So if it was less than 5, the batter would be out at first, and Winfield would have been assumed to have enough speed to get to second base. That's not the case here. And if it was greater, 13 or greater, then it would have been a GDP, but it's not. It's between both those zones, so it's above Winfield's BR, and it's below Harrah's GDP, so that means it's a fielder's choice. So runner at first, out at second on a 6-4 fielder's choice. And now we've got Harrah on first, Toby Harrah on first, with 2 out. Sounds more difficult than it is once you get it. And I'll also admit that because I use my helper, it automatically does the calculations for me. So I just look at the screen like, oh, like I immediately know what it is. So this is almost like my first time playing through with the actual game live, using the actual charts and everything like that, as opposed to looking at some of the automation. So runner on first, 2 out, and this brings up Ken Griffey Sr. Let's see, Harrah's not a threat to steal, but Griffey has a 17-19 on hit and run. He's not going to do a hit and run. Bud Black will just deliver from the stretch. That is a 4-3. That is a potential strikeout, 10, and he's a 5 or a 5 against both lefties and righties, so it's above that range. So Ken Griffey's going to put the ball in play, and that's a 7-3. That is a G6. Now, interestingly, with the hit and run on, he has a potential to actually hit it through the shortstop, where the shortstop would have been moving to second to take the throw. We would have had to look at the executable, and 18 would have been above the executable. But again, hit and run not happening here, so we just take it as a normal G6. And that's a normal G6. That's just the shortstop on Onyx Concepcion, picking it up, throwing it across, maybe throwing it to second for the fielder's choice. And let's see, no runs, one hit, one runner left on base for the Yankees at the end of 1.5. It is Kansas City 4 and the Royals. I'm sorry, Kansas City 4 and New York nothing. All right, so that brings out Greg Pryor, the number 9 hitter. Then we'll go right back to the top of the order. So the Royals did pretty well that last half inning, scoring 4 runs on 4 hits. Guidry trying to calm down. He'll be pitching to Greg Pryor, the righty, in only 270 at-bats, had 4 homers, 25 RBIs, batted .263 on the year. Again, the number 9 hitter. That's a 1-2. That's a potential walk. A 10 is above both of them, but against the lefty, it's a 5, so it's above his range. So Greg Pryor will swing, and that is a 6-6. That is a question mark 7, so it's a potential power hit. That's an 8 against left-handed pitching. That is a double. That's within the 5 to 9 range against a left-handed pitcher, which Guidry is. And it's a double to left field. So Greg Pryor says, hey, nice pitch, Ron. Let's start this up again. All right, so runner on second and Greg Pryor. We bring up the top of the order again, and it's Onyx Concepcion, who doubled his first time up. Nothing going on the bases, although Onyx Concepcion is a 19-20 for a sacrifice bunt. Let's see. Of course he is. All right, so sacrifice bunt. This is interesting. So again, I don't do this very often, but let's get the chart out here. Sacrifice bunt. Do. So let's see. First, we're going to roll for the pitcher side, and that is a 4-2. So that's a potential strikeout. Yeah, so please bear with me. Reading pitcher's card on a bunt attempt. So possible K divided by 10. So it's a potential strikeout. The range is 16. We divide by 10. Obviously, that's not going to happen. So Onyx Concepcion is going to bunt. So let's bring up the bunt chart. The first thing I always do is essentially make a determination of where the bunt location is going to be. And that's a 7. And on the chart, let's see where that chart is. Yeah, bunt fielder 7. So it's going to the catcher. All right. So we've got some modifications here. So obviously with the catcher, there is no modification. They weren't playing in. But the runner BR is -2, the hitter BR is -2, and the hitter bunt is 0. So we make no change to the 0. And essentially now we just roll a 1d20 and look up the chart. And what we want to do is look at Onyx Concepcion. His bunt rating is a 4. And again, that's not changed based on the hitting it to the catcher. And it's an 18. And the bunt chart with a bunt rating of 4, that is a lead runner. And I think I got that right. So the lead runner is thrown out and the hitter is safe at first base. So way to go, Onyx. Very proud of you. All right, so that being said, the lead runner is thrown out, and that puts Onyx Concepcion on first base with 1 out now. Squandered the double there, didn't you? All right, and Concepcion is a 3 to steal. And he's going. All right, so Concepcion is an 11. Again, Cerrone is a -1, and Guidry is a -1. So Concepcion with a 9 or less is safe. And he does a 1, which is interesting because that means if we go here, on a steal rating 1 to 2, the runner is safe, and then we check the catcher for a throwing error of 1 base. The catcher is Rick Cerrone. He has an error rating of 4. And it's a 9, so it's above. So it's just a regular stolen base, no errors made. But again, the Royals are defying the odds there and actually stealing bases when the odds are against them. All right, so that brings up Butch Davis now with a runner on second here in the bottom of the second inning and 1 out. Butch Davis is 1 for 1. He had a 2-run shot last inning. So Guidry is probably going to pitch around him this time. 2-7 against a lefty that's a blank, but against a righty, Butch Davis, it's a potential walk. 13 against a lefty is too high. 8-5, and that is a power hit to left field, 15, against a left-handed hitter. It's above his range, so that basically nullifies and just turns it into a regular F7. Now, what we may do here, we have a fly ball, so we have a potential advancement from second to third. Fly out advance. You can see this chart here on second to third. So it's a fly out to left field, and we take those same 2d8s, and again, the blue will be the top column, and the 3 will be the row. So it's a 5-3. We take the arm. It's going to be the 5 and 6's arm, and then we go down to 3. He's going to hold on a 3 to 7. So that means the runner on second is going to hold if the left fielder, where the ball was hit, has an arm rating of a 3 to 7. And I look up Steve Kemp, he has an arm rating of 2. That does not fall in the range. That means the runner on second is going to advance because of Steve Kemp's weak arm. So batter out, runner on second advances to third. And we now have a runner on third and 2 out. Pretty simple, I think. But the nice thing is, working with Chris, everything is statistically accurate, looking up real things that happen and real, on Retro Sheet and Baseball Reference, and make a determination of the proper percentages for each thing. So even though you're not looking at the base running rating each time or the arm rating each time, it's still getting its proper treatment based on the breakdown of the individual columns and rows. So pretty cool and a heck of a lot easier. All right, so Concepcion on third with 2 out. Kansas City with a 4-0 lead. Frank White is up. He's 0 for 1, ground to short. Nothing on the strategy roll. Run on third by himself. That's a 3-4. And that's the third 3-4 he's rolled. That's another potential home run. Excuse me. So Frank White says, thank you very much. 17. His home run rating is a 24. Frank White says, thanks for the meatball, and I don't care what your empty or on-base rating is. It's only going to affect it either way by 1. And Frank White says, thank you. I'm going to hit you deep. And that's a 2-run shot for Frank White, and it's now 6-0 Kansas City over the Yankees. Good grief. Not an auspicious start for Ron Guidry this year. And I guess as I do this more often, maybe I'll have a little bit more fanfare. Because right now I feel like my home runs have the same excitement of picking up groceries or something like that. But maybe as I become more acclimated, I'll scream more if that's what you want. All right, so Guidry's going to pitch to McRae. Inning and 2/3 innings, 6 hits and 6 runs already for him. Nifty little 32.40 ERA thus far, but it's early. So 4-3, that's a potential strikeout. 16 against a lefty pitcher. Hal McRae is an 8, that's too high. And 6-2 on McRae's car, that is a P5, so a pop up to the third baseman, Toby Hara. He's got it. My God, this inning's finally over again. The second inning in a row, 2 runs on 2 hits and no one left on base. At the end of 2, it's Kansas City 6 and New York nothing. All right, so leading off for the Cincinnati, good grief. No, Cincinnati's not here. For the New York Yankees, it is Rick Cerrone, I think it's Tim Foley, isn't it? Yep, Tim Foley. Used to be a Pirate. So Rick Cerrone, Tim Foley, and Omar Moreno. Tim Foley saying, Omar, we used to play together, but now I'm in the 9th hole and you're in the 1st hole, so we're kind of far apart, but at least we're together again. So I'm sure they hang out with each other, maybe go out for, deli and all that kind of stuff in New York City. Here's the pitch from Black to Rick Cerrone. That is a 6-6. That is a range play on a 13 or less. That's a 14, so it's above the range play, so no range play. Cerrone will merely put it in play. That's a 2-6. That's a ground ball to the shortstop, Alex Concepcion, and that is the first out. And that brings up Tim Foley. Don't call me Tom. Tim Foley batted .252 on the year, no homers, 16 RBIs, only 163 at-bats. The pitch from Black. That is an 8-2. Possible error on a grounder. Tim Foley puts it in play 1-3, F7. Obviously, that is not a grounder, so that ain't happening. Just a normal fly out to Butch Davis. And that's a second out. 2 outs here in the top of the 3rd. That brings up the top of the order, and Omar Moreno struck out his first time up. Bud Black from the full windup, 3-5. That's a potential walk. A 6 against a left-handed pitcher, 9. He's got it. So Omar Moreno is going to walk and get on base and try to create some havoc. He is a 6 attempt, so anything 6 or less, he's going. He is. He's got a steal rating of a 12. Bud Black is a -1. Don Slaught is a 0, so converts that 12 to an 11. So 11 or less, he's safe. And he is. Lots of stolen bases here today against the odds. So that brings up Willie Randolph. Although Moreno is a 2 or less, he'll still third. Hey, go for it, Omar. No thanks. All right, so Black will pitch. 4-2. That is a potential walk. 15. Willie Randolph does like to walk. So against a lefty, 17 or less, he walks. And 15 is less. So we've got our runners now in first and second. So the Yankees are building something here. Unfortunately, there's already 2 out. So that'll bring up the lefty hitting Steve Kemp against the lefty pitching Bud Black. Kemp is 0 for 1 with a fly to center field. We do have a potential again for Moreno to steal of 2 or less, slightly too high. Black will deal to Kemp. That is a 1-3. That is a blank. Kemp's going to swing away. That's a 3-1. That's an S4. So he grounds the ball past Frank White. And again, we bring out that chart. And we've got a runner on second at Omar Moreno. S4, we have to remember to add a +1 because there is 2 outs. So anything 3 or plus, Moreno is a 6. So he's going to score from second. And then Willie Randolph got some speed as well. So on an S4, anything 5 plus, he is a 5. Of course, you'd add 1 to it, but it doesn't really matter here. But he's going to advance to third. So it's a run-scoring single for Steve Kemp. And Willie Randolph gets all the way to third. So runners on first and third now with 2 out. And it's now 6-1. They cut the lead into 6th. That'll bring up Don Baylor, 0 for 1, grounded out to short, his first time up. Runners are not going, no threat to steal is Steve Kemp. The pitch from Bud Black, that is an 8-2. That is a potential EG, so error on a grounder. Let's see what Baylor does with the pitch. That is a 4-5. That is a power hit to left field, 13. Against a left-handed pitcher. It's too high for his range, so that's just a normal F7. And an EG with an F7 equals an F7. So the Yankees do pick up a run. They could have picked up another one, though. Would have been really helpful. But they pick up a run on a hit. And there are 2 runners left on base at the end of 2.5. It is Kansas City 6 and the Yankees 1. All right, so Guidry is still out there. He's pitched 2 innings thus far. 2 innings, 6 hits, 6 runs. Lower the ERA to 27. He's thrown 44 pitches and faced 13 batters. He can face up to 30, so he's got a lot in the gas tank. Is it an effective gas tank, or does it have holes in it? We'll find out. So here's Steve Balboni, 0 for 1 with a strikeout. He loves to strike out. Maybe he'll help out Ron again. 2-8. That is against a lefty. That's an automatic hit, but against a righty, which Balboni is, it's a walk. He's a 10. Against a lefty, Steve Balboni draws a walk. That is not what Guidry wanted. So leadoff walk here, that always spells trouble. And here's Darryl Motley, 1 for 1 today, single to right field. Balboni's not a threat to steal. Motley, however, could sack bunt or with a 19 or a 20, but he's not with an 11. So Guidry's going to pitch from the stretch. That is a 1-8. We've got a question mark, 17 against a right-handed batter. We look here, that's too high. So could have been a potential home run, could have been a potential single, or automatic error on a dropped ball. But none of those things, it's outside the range, so we go to Motley's card. And let's see. That is a 3-1. That is a line out to second base. So we have a potential line into a double play. And you can see again, if the infield was playing in, which they're not here. Let's see, L4. So then we bring up, let's see if we can find that chart. Yep, here's the line out chart. And we basically roll a 1D20. So there's a runner on first. It was hit to the second baseman. So a 1-6, that would be a double up. Let's see. And it's not, there's a 14, so no double play. So it's just basically battle lines out and the runner holds. All right, so that brings up Don Slaught now with 1 out. Don Slaught is a threat to ground into a double play, which Ron Guidry would love to see. But he's also 14 to 16 on a hit and run and 17 to 20 on a sack bunt. So let's see on the strategy roll, is that going to occur? It is not. He's going to try to put the ball in play. Guidry with the pitch. That is a 2-4. Error on a bobble, potentially. And that's a 2-3. That is a G5. So we have a potential error here, or a potential double play, or potential who the heck knows what. So, error on a bobble. So it's a possible double play, but a potential booted ball. So it was hit to third base. Tobihara is a 9 error. 7, it's in his range. He boots the ball. So potential double play, but isn't going to happen because Tobihara can't find the handle. And let's go back to the screen here. And there we go. So we've got runners on first and second now with 1 out. And speed on the base pass. We got Steve Balboni and the catcher Don Slott. Just to even, the ball gets away from the catcher. They're going. Excuse me. All right, so that brings up Pat Sheridan, 0 for 1 today. Flew out to center field. Ron Guidry saying, not only am I having an awful day, but my fielders are having an awful day as well. 3-5, that's a blank. We'll go to Pat Sheridan's card. 2-6. That's an infield single to the shortstop. And the runners are going to advance a base. On an infield single, you only advance a base. So it's not like the old school. It's not a ball squeezing by the infield or anything like that. The little I symbol says infield single. So Pat Sheridan beats out an infield single. He does have a base running rating of 5. And you'll see different hitters have different potential for the I single. Like Greg Pryor has 1. Obviously the really fast guys will have more because they hit more infield singles, which is kind of cool. All right. So Ron Guidry is saying, my gosh, what do I have to do here? It's bases loaded with 1 out, and that brings up Greg Pryor, who doubled his first time up. Do we give up on Guidry already? 2 1/3 innings, 7 hits of 6 runs of completely ineffective ball. And I'm going to say that's enough for you, pal. Because I think if you look at his pull rating, which is a 14, 7 hits, 6 runs, plus 2 walks, that's 15. He's gone. All right, Ron. Maybe we'll see in 4 days rest or something like that. But the reliever that the manager has picked is Jose Rio, who was a hot property, I remember, for the Reds. Maybe later, I think, for the A's. But I think when he went to the Yankees, he was a little underwhelming. So Ron Guidry goes to the showers, and here's Jose Rio. Yeah, a little underwhelming. 2 wins, 8 losses, 2 saves, 62 1/3, 74 hits given up, 47 Ks, 32 walks, and a 4.76 ERA. So let me bring Rio in. And there he is. He's also got a great range, and as long as he gets to it, he'll bobble it. So that might be fun as well. So bases loaded. So, hey, Jose, don't be wild here, pal. Bases loaded, 1 out. Try to induce something, maybe a double play. Here's the pitch to Pryor. That is an 8-6. That's a pickoff play at the park. So it's a pickoff play first, then we go to the park. Let's see, a 7. What's his pickoff rating? He picked off the guy on first base. Look at that, 5-8. So he picks off Pat Sheridan. Look at him, and that's 2 outs now. And so runners on second and third. And then we go to the ballpark. Yes, now we go to the ballpark. So Pryor's still up. So we had the pickoff play. Again, this is kind of even though it got me a little bit right there, it's kind of the smoothness of the game. Okay, we had a pickoff, but now we're going to go to the batter's card. And actually, we're going to go to the park's card. 1-3, that is a G1. So ground ball right back to Jose Rio, who again has that great range, terrible error rating, but no error here. And that's the 3rd out. So no runs, 1 hit, 2 runners left on base. Jose Rio saves the day and at least keeps the Yankees in contention. At the end of 3, it's Kansas City 6 and the Yankees 1. All right, leading off for the Yankees would be Winfield, then Tobihara, and then Ken Griffey Sr. Winfield's 1 for 1, got the first hit for the Yankees. The pitch from Black is a 4-3 that has a potential strikeout. 16 is too high. Winfield will swing. That's a 4-1. That's a ground ball right back to the first baseman, Balboni. Steps on first. We get our first out here in the top of the 4th. We are, 44 minutes in. Okay. Tobihara. 0 for 1. Grind into a fielder's choice his first time up. Bud Black delivers. That's a 6-6. That is a range play on a 13. That is a 9, so it is a range play. And now we're going to roll on Harris card. That's a 4-2. That's a G4, but it's a range play on a G4. Frank White. He's got a range of 7. And actually, there's no way he can not make this play because they're at home. And on the home field advantage, if he rolls an 8, it's an automatic. It's an automatic play. So he's a 1-7 anyway with an 8, which they're at home right now. So that would have been basically Frank White will make any range play today. 5 is less than his range anyway. But a successful range play, so that's an automatic G4. And we have 2 outs now. Frank White loving Royal Stadium. Loves that infield. Then I bring up Ken Griffey Sr. grounded to short his first time up. That is a 2-6. That's a possible error on a throw. The pitch to Griffey, 7-7. That is with runners in scoring position. That's a star 2 that could be switched, but since there are no runners in scoring position, that's just an automatic 2. So it's a possible error on a throw on a G4. We look at column 2. So that would be Frank White again. He has an error rating of a 5. And the roll was an 11. So it's above his range, so there is no error. Batter out at first. No runs, no hits. No runners left on base. Basically 3 up, 3 down, kids. And we're going to head to the bottom of the 4th inning. It is Kansas City 6, New York 1. Jose Rio came in with throwing gas and picked off the runner and then got the next guy to ground right back out to him, so he's looking pretty good. He'll be facing Onyx Concepcion, who is 1 for 2 with a double and then bunted into a fielder's choice, but actually scored. So he scored 2 runs already today. Here's the pitch from Rio, 4-1. That's an EFG at the park. So possible error on a foul ball or a grounder, but we're going to go to the park to see what happens. And that is a 3-5. That's a G3. So with an EFG at the park on a G3, we do have a potential error. Let's see. So the guy on first is Griffey Sr. playing a wonderful first base with an error rating of 20. 13, he booted the ball. And so that's the that's the second error for the Yankees today, and that'll put Concepcion on first base. So now Rio has seen a taste of that illustrious 1984 Yankee fielding. That'll bring up Concepcion is on first. That'll bring up Butch Davis. Concepcion with a 4 or less has the potential to steal. Notice the rating has changed. Guidry was a -1, but Jose Rio is a 0 on the hold. 5 is too high. So I just have Rio pitch, and that is a 3-2. That has a potential walk. Cripes. It looked like it was going to a 4. I'll just say it's a 14. Against a righty, it's below his range anyway. So 19, 14 is below the range, so Butch Davis is going to walk. So it didn't really matter, unfortunately. But it's now first and second, and still nobody out. And Jose Rio begins to implode in front of our eyes. Rio can face up to 9 batters. He's faced 3 thus far, so he'll pitch to Frank White, 1 for 2. He homered off of Guidry. That is a 3-1. That's a potential walk. Of course it's a walk against our righty. 7, and the number is 4. So now we've got bases loaded. Good grief. The Royals are having fun here on opening day, and that'll bring up Hal McRae, 0 for 1 with a walk himself. So Rio, taking the rosin bag, taking a stroll around the mound, taking a deep breath. He's ready to throw the ball right down the middle of the plate. Let's just see what happens. 4-5. No, he's not. It's a potential walk. 18, however, Hal McRae says, no thank you, Jose. I'd rather swing. And that's an 8-2, and that's a ground ball to the first baseman. So, with nobody out, are they going to cut off the run? I probably should have thought about this earlier, but no, they're going to play back. So a G3. So we do have to say the infield's back. And let's see, where's that stuff? So G3, DP mod, hit to the first baseman. So we're going to -2, and then take the pitcher, who is a 0. So we modify the 1D20 roll by 2, -2. So that makes an 18 a 16, but his GDP rating is 9+. Hal McRae is a double play machine, so that is a double play. It's above 9. So even with that roll adjustment of -2, hit to the first baseman, still a 3-6-3 double play. and that means the run is going to score, but obviously without an RBI. But I think the Yankees will take it. They'll take the 2 outs. So, bottom of the 4th now. It's now 7-1, Kansas City. Butch Davis now moves to 3rd. And then I bring up Rio against Steve Balboni, who's 0 for 1, struck out and walked. The pitch from Jose Rio, 4-6. That is an automatic hit, base hit to where? We're going to find out. 18. Again, 2, 4, 6, 8, 11, 14, 17, 20. So it's an 8. So it's an S8. That F8 gets converted to an S8 since it's an automatic hit. And that's going to score Butch Davis. So now it's 8-1. Yeehaw. What a game. Loving it. Close one. All right, so Balboni's on first now. He is not a threat to steal. Motley can hit and run on a 19, but guys, you're up 8-1 here in the bottom of the 4th. I think you're going to do a little station to station. Jose Rio with the pitch. That is a 5-3. Against a lefty, that's a walk. Against Motley, he's a righty, that's a strikeout. An 8 or less against a righty pitcher, that is a strikeout. So Jose Rio goes down. 2-run score and only 1 hit, because we did have the error, with 1 runner left on base. At the end of 4 innings of play, it is Kansas City 8, New York 1. Time for a station break so I can have a beverage. All right, what a game here, opening day. A few Yankee fans in the stadium saying, why are we here? Can we go home early? Let's see if we can get an early flight. For the Yankees, it'll be Rick Cerrone, number 8 hitter, then Tim Foley, and then Jose Moreno, why not? Or you can call me Omar, he says. All right, so Black will pitch to Cerrone, who's 0 for 1 today, 1-6. That is a blank. So we go to Cerrone's card. That is a 7-3. That's a fly ball to left field. 1 up, 1 down for the Yankees. And that'll bring up Tim Foley, 0 for 1 today. He flew out to left field. But Black with this pitch. That is an 8-8. Error, potential error on a bobble. Foley swings. That is a 2-2. And that is an F9. No bobble on an F9. Thank you very much. That's a second out. That brings up Omar Moreno. 0 for 1 today, did walk. Also struck out. Lefty versus lefty coming up here, top of the 5th inning. 7-1. That's a potential strikeout. 7 against a lefty is a strikeout, even with the -1 on the card. That lowers it to an 8, but it's still within range, the 7. So Omar Moreno goes down swinging. And at the end of 4.5, it's still Kansas City 8, New York 1. Jose Rio can face 9 batters. He's faced 7. So they're going to see if they can get another inning out of him. He'll face Don Slaught, Pat Sheridan, and Greg Pryor. Slaught is 1 for 2 today with a single, reached base on an error, and has 2 RBIs. Here's the pitch from Rio, 2-8. That is an automatic single on a 19. Again, we look for the chart. That's an 8, so it's an automatic S8. Convert that F8 to an S8. And that puts Slaught on first base. Pat Sheridan's up now. He's 1 for 2 today. Hit an infield single. No runners are going. It's 8-1. Here's the pitch from Rio. Facing his 9th batter. 6-1. That's a range play on a 12. 16 is too high, so no range play. Pat Sheridan, 4-5. That is a fly ball to the left fielder. And that's the first out. So Rio on borrowed time now. Facing his 9th batter already. He will pitch to Greg Pryor. 2-3. Potential walk. 5. Against a righty is a 6. That is a walk for Greg Pryor, who does not like to walk, but he says I'll do it. And we're going to see if Rio can get through this inning just to save the bullpen. I don't know how effective it's going to be, but runners on first and second now with 1 out. Onyx Concepcion, 1 for 3 with a double. He's reached base on an error, reached base on a fielder's choice, and doubled, so he scored 3 runs already. Does not bode well for Rio. 8-4, that is a potential strikeout. 8 is against a right-handed pitcher. 9, but we subtract 1, but it's still within range, so Onyx Concepcion goes down swinging. And Rio's got 2 outs now. Still flirting with fatigue here. He'll face Butch Davis, 1 for 2, scored 2 runs, 2 RBIs, walked, and homered. Rio with the pitch. 3-1. That's a potential walk with a 6. That is a walk against Rio. And he's walked the bases loaded. And that'll bring up Frank White, who's 1 for 2 with a homer and 2 RBIs. I think, Rio, you did a fine job. But we're going to see if we can find someone to come in for you. And that person is going to be Armstrong. Is it Clay Armstrong? Let's find out together, shall we? Mike Armstrong. Sorry I called you Clay earlier, Mike. No hard feelings. Jose Rio goes to the bottom of the pile. So here's Mike Armstrong. He can face 6 batters. 3.48 ERA in the year. 3 wins, 2 losses. 54 1/3 innings. He'll come in with the bases loaded. Thanks, coach. I could do that. Bases loaded, but there's 2 outs. So all you have to do is get Frank White out, who again hit his first homer of the year, hit 17 in real life. Here's the pitch from Armstrong. That is a 1-3. That is a potential strikeout. An 11 against a right-handed pitcher is an 11. Uh-oh, but Kauffman Stadium or Royal Stadium says no thank you. We're going to lower your rating to a 10, so it's above. Frank White says thank you very much. Love my stadium. 2-3. That's a ground ball to the shortstop. So it didn't strike out, but it hit right back to Tim Foley, who tosses it over to Griffey Sr. And no runs, 1 hit, 3 runners left on base. At the end of, where are we? At the end of 5, it is Kansas City 8, New York 1. Bud Black will be heading into the top of the 6th inning. Thus far, 5 innings, 2 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, 2 Ks, has thrown 77 pitches, 48 for strikes, faced 19 batters. He can face 30, so he's grooving. Willie Randolph will be leading off. He's 0 for 1 with a walk. The pitch from Black, 6-4. Potential strikeout, 5 against a righty. Actually, no, against a lefty. Willie Randolph is going to put the ball in play because he's only got a 3 there. So here's Randolph, 6-7. That is a F9, so a fly ball to right field. 1 up, 1 down for the Yankees. That'll bring up Steve Kemp, who's 1 for 2 today with an RBI. Bud Black, 7-6. That is a potential home run. Let's see, Kemp is a 10. Bud Black is a lefty, so it's an 8. But let's check his EO ratings. It's a 0, so he doesn't affect when the runners are, when the bases are empty or when there's runners on. Doesn't affect the home run rating at all, so it's too high. 10 is too high. And that will put the onus on Steve Kemp now. 1-5. That's a fly ball to the center fielder. So Steve Kemp had a chance, had a really good pitch, fouled it off, and then flew out to center field on the next pitch. Bud Black to Don Baylor. Baylor's 0 for 2 today. Grounded out and flew out. That's an 8-4. That is an automatic out. We use the 1D20 to find out where. Again, using that top number, the 2 falls in this range of the 1D20. So that's an F8. So Bud Black says, thank you very much. Here's your automatic out to center field. And we have 3 up, 3 down again for the Yankees. At the end of 5.5, it is Kansas City 8, New York 1. Okay. Hitting up almost the hour now, and we're in the bottom of the 6th inning. Not too bad, going low and slow here. All right. So Mike Armstrong will be facing Hal McRae, Balboni, and Darryl Motley. So Steve Balboni and Darryl Motley. Let's see. McRae is 0 for 2 today with a walk. Armstrong has faced 1 batter thus far. I can face up to 6. The pitch, 7-4. That's a potential walk. 20 is going to be too high. McRae is only 11. McRae swings, 3-8. That is a G6. So ground ball to Foley for the first out. That brings up Steve Bye-Bye Balboni. 1 for 2 today with an RBI and a walk. Having a career day. Armstrong with the deal, with the pitch. 6-7. That is a walk. 14 against a righty. He's a 9, so that's too high. 2-1. That is a fly ball to the right fielder. And that's the second out. So Armstrong looking for a 3 up, 3 down inning. That'll bring up Darryl Motley. Darryl Motley's 1 for 3 today. Singled in the first. Lined out and struck out. Pitch from Armstrong is a 2-6. That is a potential walk. 16 is too high for Motley. Motley swings 5-4. That is a star 4, so it's an automatic G6. Ground ball to the shortstop Foley, toss it to Griffey, and that is 3 up, 3 down for Mike Armstrong. The end of 6 now. Kansas City 8, New York 1. We've got a barn burner here, folks. Wake the kids up. They're going to want to watch this one. All right, so that brings up Bud Black again. Now into the 7th inning. He'll face Winfield, Hara, and Griffey. Winfield is 1 for 2 today. Got the first hit for the Yankees, and one of only 2 hits on the day. That is a 4-1 against a lefty. That's an automatic out, but Winfield is a righty, so that's a potential strikeout. 13 against a lefty is too high for him, so Winfield will put it in play. 4-5. Fly ball to center field. Pat Sheridan's got it. Says thank you very much. That's the first out. Toby Hara 0 for 2. Grounded to short and also grounded to second. Let's see if he picks first or third this time to ground out too. 3-5. That is a potential walk. I think he likes to walk. That's a 9. Yes, Toby Hara does like to walk. He says, thanks, bud. I am now on base. It's what I do. So Toby Hara is not a threat to steal. Ken Griffey Sr. is a threat to hit and run or sacrifice, but again, we're going station to station with a 7-run differential here. So Black will pitch. That is a 3-7. That is a walk to a lefty, which Griffey is, a 9. That's too high from a lefty, which Bud Black is. Griffey's rating is a 4. Griffey does not walk as many times against lefties as he does against righties. And that's an 8-6. That is an L4, so we have a potential double play here. L4, we get the chart out. This little guy, it was hit to second base. We roll the 1, actually, we can use this 1d20, can't we? We did an 8-6. I just want to see. 8-6, yeah, we can reuse that 1d20 roll if we want to save some time. So that is a 5, and look at that. That is a 1-6. The runner on first is out at the same time. So batter lines out to second, the runner first is caught leaning, and that's a line out to second double play. Hard luck loser there, Ken Griffey Sr., but Bud Black will take it. So at the end of 6.5 now, it's still 8-1 Kansas City. Mike Armstrong faced 4 batters. He can face 2 more before starting to feel the fatigue set in. He'll face Don Slaught, Pat Sheridan, and Greg Pryor. And I guess we'll just keep these regulars in. We'll see next inning. Maybe we'll bring in some defensive replacements. All right, so here's Armstrong to Slaught. Slaught is 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs, singled twice, and then also, oops, hit into an error. 2-7. Armstrong says that's an EFG at the park. So we go to the park card and see if the EFG error applies. 8-4. That is a G6 potentially. EFG on a G6. And 15 hit to the shortstop Foley, whose error rating is a 10, so that's too high. So it's just a regular out. No error occurs. That would bring up Pat Sheridan, 1 for 3. Hit an infield single in the 3rd. Here's the pitch to Armstrong, or from Armstrong. 7-1. Against a lefty, that's a walk. That's what Pat Sheridan is. 17 is too high for him. Armstrong tried to walk me, and I said, no thank you. 3-7. That is a star 7, so it's an automatic out on the 7 column, which is an F9. And 2 outs. And Armstrong is now feeling the fatigue. There's a burning sensation in his elbow. He can't quite describe it, but it's painful. Here's the pitch to Greg Pryor. 1 for 2, doubled and walked. 6-4. That is a potential strikeout. 3. That is a strikeout. Even though he's hard to strike out, Mike Armstrong sets him down. That's his first K of the day. And we're going to head to the top of the 8th inning now. It's Kansas City 8, New York 1, and pretty much a Game of the Year candidate. Bud Black has only allowed 2 hits and 1 run here through 7 innings. Walked 3 and struck out 2. We'll be facing Cerrone, Foley, and then the top of the order with Omar Moreno. Let's see, Bud Black has faced 25 batters. He can face up to 30, so he might be gunning for a complete game here on opening day. The pitch from Black is a 6-2. Potential error on a bobble. Let's see what Cerrone does. 4-3. That is with runners on base. That is an S9. Or it could be changed with runners on base. There are no runners on base. That's a straight S9. But with an EB, that could be a potential error on top of that. So hit to the right fielder. Motley is a 14. That's a 4. So that's in his range. So there's an error on the play. Okay, runner or batter advance at least one extra base. We're going to roll 2d8. So basically, this is the play where one of the rolls has to be less than the BR rating and greater than the arm rating. And if both, then he gets an extra base. If one or the other, then he doesn't gain an extra base. And then if it's an 8-8, he gets thrown out. Well, it's an 8-1. So 8, let's see. So check the red D8 versus the base running rating of... Rick Cerrone's not going anywhere. Okay, so he just, let's see, it was a single with an error, so he's going to advance to second base. All right, sir. Sorry, while I get my little helper going. So Cerrone's on second. On the error from Daryl Motley. Just as I said, I was going to look at the defensive chart and see if anyone would like to come in, but Motley probably should have moved to left field. Actually, he's the best fielder out there, at least as far as range is concerned, but he did make a few errors, as evidenced by the last one. All right, so Bud Black gets up a single and an error, and that'll bring up Tim Foley, 0 for 2 today. Flew out both times. Black will pitch. That is a 4-2. Potential walk, 4 against a lefty pitcher. Tim Foley does not like to walk, but he will accept that one from Bud Black. So now we've got runners at first and second with nobody out. And that will bring out the top of the order with Omar Moreno. Omar is 0 for 2 today with a walk. Black has walked 4 batters thus far today here in the top of the 8th inning. He can face 3 more batters without fatigue. Lefty versus lefty. Dick Hauser likes that matchup, so he'll have him pitch. That's a 4-8. That's a potential strikeout. 16, unfortunately for them, is too high. Moreno will put it in play. That's a 5-6. And whoa, that's a triple to center field. So Omar Moreno says, thank you very much. I love being a Yankee. And that is a 2-run triple for Omar Moreno. And now the lead is cut into 0.227, 0.286. If you're scoring at home. All right, so it's 8-3 now. Bud Black has now given up 3 runs. Let's see. And it's going to say that's let's see. All right. So now Willie Randolph and then Steve Kemp. 8-3, still a nice lead. They're going to play back. They don't care about Omar Moreno. That's just 8-4. 4-7. Pickoff play. And then the park, the pickoff play is a 16. Pickoff error on Bud Black's card. So, wow, look at that. Omar Moreno is going to just go home. Thank you very much. And now it's 8-4, and we still have Willie Randolph up. That's the second error of the inning for the Royals, just completely imploding here. But now Bud Black has nobody on base, and so he can kind of start from scratch. He says, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. 1-8 against a lefty, that's a star. But Willie Randolph is a righty, so he says, hey, thanks for the meatball right down the middle of the plate. Unfortunately, I don't know what to do with that. I only have a rating of a 2, so 18 is way too high. So Willie Randolph will just swing. That's an 8-1. He'll ground out right to Concepcion, and that's the... Is that really the first out? Cripes. I guess so. That's the first out. All right. Let's see. So that brings up Steve Kemp. 1 for 3 today with an RBI. Bud Black, lefty versus lefty. And this is his 30th batter. So 5-4. That is a question mark, question mark. That's a 6 against a lefty. That is an automatic out. And we're going to re-roll to see where it goes. 2. That's an F8. And that's the second out of the inning. So Bud Black now is fatigued officially. Ow, my arm hurts. Don Baylor's up now. He's 0 for 3. The pitch from Black, 3-1. Strikeout, 2. Yes. Baylor will happily oblige, and that's the third out. So 3 runs on 2 hits, no one left on base. It's 8-4 now. We're gonna head to the bottom of the 8th inning. So Armstrong is tired. He can face 6. He's already faced 7. So let's see who's gonna sub for him. That'll be Dave Righetti, just getting some work in. He was their closer that year. It is the 9th inning, and even though they're down by 4, they scored 3 runs in the 8th, and you never know, right? So Dave Righetti's going to make the call, get some work in, and then maybe we can have a 9th inning miracle here. Righetti comes in. Let's see. He was 5 wins, 6 losses, 31 saves, pitched 96 1/3 innings. 79 hits, only 5 home runs, 90 strikeouts, 30 walks, 2.34 ERA, so highly effective. Was a great closer that year for the Yankees, and he'll face. Let's complete the transaction here, guys. Let's see, accept the changes. Okay, so Concepcion 1 for 4 today, but has scored 3 runs. Why? Because he reached base on a fielder's choice as well as an error. So while he's 1 for 4, he has scored 3 runs. The pitch from Righetti, 7-4. Potential strikeout, 5. Yes, that is a strikeout. Even with the -1, lowers his rating to a 5, but it's still within range. So Concepcion goes down swinging against Dave Righetti. That'll bring up Butch Davis. 1 for 2 today, scored 2 runs, hit a homer, 2 RBIs, 2 walks. What hasn't he done? The pitch from Righetti, 6-7. That's a potential walk, 3. Yep, he's going to walk even against a lefty. There's no -1 there, but he will walk. And that is his 3rd walk of the day. Butch Davis knows how to walk. He does have the potential to steal, but it's a 4-run game, which is not that horrific. Butch Davis has walked this many times. He says, I'm going to steal. Dave Righetti is a -1 hold, so it ups his attempt rating. Let's see. 7. I have a 7 here, but it says 6. Interesting. I don't know why. Oh, actually, yeah, I know why, because he takes 1 away. So it goes from a 7 to a 6. So he's not going anyway. Don't worry about it, guys. All right, so Righetti pitches 2-7. That's a pickoff play, and then to the park, 12. He picks off the runner off first. Well, Butch, you should have gone, I guess, right? Or maybe because you were thinking about going. That's a bad idea. So we're going to the ballpark now with Frank White. 2 outs after the pickoff, 6-4. That is a fly ball to left field. So a different way, 3 up, 3 down. He had to pick off one of the guys, though. But at the end of 8, it's Kansas City 8 and the Yankees 4. And that's going to be it for Bud Black. He's exhausted. And he'll be facing, whoever will be coming in will be facing Winfield, Hara, and Griffey Sr. So righty, righty, lefty. And we're going to do the subs here. We're going to suggest a pitcher. And of course, it's going to be Dan Quisenberry, the side armor. He was their closer. Not quite a closing situation or a save situation here. But hey, it's opening day. Let's save this game, right? Dan Quisenberry, 6 wins, 3 losses, 44 saves. And pitched a lot. 129 1/3 innings, 121 hits, 10 home runs. Did not strike out many batters, but look, only 8 walks. So here's what he does. He basically induces ground balls and does not walk a guy. So, yeah, he's like a double play manufacturer and, does not walk guys. So you're going to have to string a series of hits against me if you want to take advantage of me. Let's see. Let's go bring in Quisenberry, accept those changes, and do we want to bring anyone else? So we've got Balboni at first base. You could bring in Wathan. George Brett is nursing something. We're not sure, but he's the same as prior. We could do Pat Sharon is terrible in center. We could do Willie Wilson, but I'm assuming since he didn't start that there's something wrong with him. So we're going to just basically keep the defense as it is. All right. So let's see. Quisenberry to Winfield. Interesting matchup here. 4-4. That is a blank. Dan Quisenberry says, here, hit it. 2-7. That is a star 3, which on his card is an F9. So fly ball to the right fielder, Darryl Motley. Camps under it. He's got it. First out. 8-4 lead here, 2 outs away from a final. We've got Toby Hara, who does like to walk, which is interesting because Dan Quisenberry does not like to walk, guys. 2 opposing forces. Quisenberry with the pitch. That is a 6-4. That is a blank. Lots of blanks in Quisenberry's card. He just dares you to hit it. 3-3. That's a ground ball to the shortstop Concepcion. Picks it up, flings it over to Balboni. That's the second out. 1 out away from a final here. Ken Griffey Jr. Sr. He is 0 for 3. Do we go nuts and say, you know what? Who's this Don Mattingly kid? I think we do. He's been sitting on the bench, chewing a double bubble all day. Teeth are rotting. He's saying, can I at least get in the game? And they say, sure, kid. Sure. I think you're going to amount to something, but we'll see, shall we? So Don Mattingly is going to pinch hit for Ken Griffey Sr. Just for giggles. So let's do a pinch hit. And we bring in Mattingly. I accept that change. And there's Don Mattingly. Making his, I think is, I don't know, did he play in 83 or not? I'm not really sure. So either you're making your Major League debut or you're not, Don. Maybe you'll tell us later. So here's the pitch from Quisenberry. 1-6. That is an EFG to the park. So basically, doesn't affect you, Don. That's going to go right to the park. That's a 4-4. That is against a lefty hitter. That's an S3. So EFG with an S3. And Don Mattingly hits a base hit. Of course he does. Even though it went to the park, he got a base hit. Grounded it right past the Steve Balboni. So Mattingly is on at first. He is not a threat to steal, and that'll bring out Rick Cerrone, 1 for 3 today. He singled to right field, and then Motley made the error, which allowed him to get to second. Here's the pitch from Quisenberry, 4-7. That is a potential walk. Crazy. 17 is too high. Cerrone swings. That is a 1-5. That is a star 8, and that's an automatic out to Onyx Concepcion. No runs, 1 hit, 1 runner left on base. Hey, we got to see Don Mattingly get his first major league hit, I think. I don't know, unless he did it last year. I wasn't paying attention. But there you go. That's the final. It is Kansas City 8, New York 4. Let's check the box score here. Let's see. So, Butch Davis homered, Frank White homered. Player of the game? Really hard to say, although Concepcion did score 3 runs. But let's see, the Yankees 4 runs on 5 hits with 2 errors. Kansas City 8 runs on 9 hits with 2 errors. I'm going to say that I guess the player of the game was Bud Black, even though he did give up 3 runs in the 8th inning. 8 innings, 4 hits, 4 runs, 4 walks, 3 Ks, got the win. Ron Guidry got the loss. He was terrible. 2 1/3 innings, 7 hits, 6 runs, 2 walks, 1 K, gave up 2 home runs. The Yankees relieving corps, however, pitched 5 2/3 innings and gave up 2 hits and 2 runs. They did walk 5 guys though. That was part of the thing with the Royals today. They did walk 7 times, so 9 hits and 7 walks, combines for 8 runs. Let's see, runners in scoring position. The Yankees were 2 for 3. Kansas City was 5 for 11. We had stolen bases by Darryl Motley, Concepcion, and Moreno. But I guess that's about it. 4 errors, yuck. We had a pickoff. We had 2 pickoff plays, and that's basically it. So today's, let's see, this was the first day 2 or the day after opening day game. We'll probably be doing some more, maybe even switch it up and go to 1978. But hopefully, for those who are still just trying to learn Inside Pitch Advance, hopefully I went slow enough. Hopefully I showed the charts enough. Hopefully I was entertaining enough. We shall see. But I'm hoping you gain some value out of this, and I hope you continue to watch and enjoy and hit the like button and all that fancy schmancy stuff. But I will be broadcasting soon. But thank you for joining me tonight, and maybe in the future I'll have some cool sayings at the end. But right now I ain't got nothing. So anyway, hope you have a great rest of your day, and enjoy Inside Pitch Advance. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye.